Hi, good morning, fans of the. Don't interrupt me when I'm doing the introduction. Good morning, fans of the Hunt. What are we? The Monday Movie Club. This week we're back to the MCU, which is where it all started for the Monday Movie Club. We went to the movies this week to see Captain America: Brave New World, which is too new to be on the Franken list. It will be on next year. I'll let you know. I'm Frank Gaffney. With us as always. Okay, Gene
Oh,
Colan.
Colin.
Colan. Okay, and Gene Colan is who exactly?
Gene Colan was the artist who co-created Falcon in the
Who,
70s with Stan Lee.
but that's Captain America in the background, right?
Well, let me rephrase that. Sam Wilson, who was first Falcon and eventually became Captain America. That's who
Oh,
that is.
oh, I see. He got
Yes.
upgraded in his
Yeah.
job. Okay. Mark Wotis Gartner has the picture up. You love the movie. Goldfuck, no cringer.
No, Cringer.
Why? What's going on
He's
over there?
sleeping.
I wish I was. Danny King back in her kitchen. Oh, there's Danny. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Look at my name.
Making a cameo appearance. Kyle Baker. Who is who?
Who is Kyle Baker?
No
Anyone?
idea. No.
Nothing.
Oh, he's the one who created Isaiah Bradley.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I only know that because Danny's friend, Eve, Sarah, that's her boyfriend.
Oh,
Cool.
Isaiah Bradley?
nice.
Just for
No.
the record, I know exactly who Kyle Baker is. I was refraining from being that geek and seeing if anybody else would answer. So,
You knew the answer already, Joel.
yeah, exactly.
That's what he said.
No, I mean, you knew that we were never, none of us were going to know that.
Well, you know.
Yeah, that's true too. Except for Annie, of course.
Well, obviously.
So exactly who is her boyfriend? I'm a little confused.
He's the guy that created Isaiah Bradley.
And that's her boyfriend, Kyle Baker.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sitting here looking through all the books going, can I grab those issues? But I don't think I can easily do that without like hurting myself. So, no.
All right, so here's the plot from the interwebs. Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, finds himself in the middle of an international incident after meeting with President Thaddeus Ross, now played by Harrison Ford, taking over for the now dead William Hurt. Wilson must soon discover the reason behind a nefarious global plot. Aren't they always nefarious?
And global.
And go before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. That's a hint, right?
Yeah.
That's a hint. Okay. And this is really our first. Isn't this the first movie where Anthony Mackie is the main point of this? Taking over the mantle of Captain America. And while we see a little bit of his internal struggle, it wasn't explored enough for my liking. Is he the first Captain America who wasn't a super soldier?
In the MCU,
In
sure.
the MCU, yes. In the comics, I don't. Well, actually, no, because John Walker, I don't think has the super soldier serum, and we
Oh
saw
yeah,
him
yeah.
in
He was the
Falcon and the
goof.
Winter Soldier.
He was the goofy one. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the
No.
goofy one.
But he does have it.
Does he? I can't remember.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, okay, he does. All right. And I can't remember if he has it in the comic books because you had him and then there was somebody else before Sam Wilson took over, and I can't remember if he had the super soldier serum either.
Is Sam Wilson black in the comic books?
No, of course not.
No.
Yes, he is. Of course.
I don't know.
Yes, he is.
And then we have the addition of Joaquin Torres as the new Falcon. I just didn't feel it. It's all been
Oh,
there. Watch that. Man.
he was kind of adorable.
They couldn't get somebody fun. There's
He,
any number of
That's the
Hispanic Latino actors out there who could have
he
played
was
the
a fun
role.
sidekick. That was his role. He was the fun sidekick.
Yeah, but I'm sure Manny from Modern Family was available. He would have been fun.
Have you seen Manny from Modern Family lately? He would not fit in that suit.
Make a bigger suit. All right.
Plus, the actor played him in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes. You've seen him before.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, everything else was just MCU cookie cutter variety. Wait a minute. Now, here's my observations while I was watching. I actually took my pad to the movie theater and made notes. I didn't want to do it on my phone because it lights up and people get annoyed at that.
How many people were
But
in the theater with you?
I went on a
Yeah, weren't you
Friday
alone?
at 11 a.m. to an IMAX movie theater. I was the only one in the theater. They're running the whole movie just for me. But it's really fun to go to the movies. The IMAX, I don't get though. I paid $17 to watch the movie. It sounded great and the screen was bigger, but it's the same movie. I didn't see it didn't help for me.
That's a longer discussion that
I
nobody.
was waiting for Joel to say, well, you didn't see it in
Yeah,
true
because it's not
IMAX.
It
true
wasn't
You
real
saw it in
IMAX.
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 Yeah, the screen wasn't, concave or whatever it's supposed to be, but it was bigger. Whatever. And then we get the trailers, Thunderbolts. That looks like it might be fun. And then, Mark, I know you're excited. There was a trailer for The Accountant 2.
Yes, yes,
Very exciting.
yes.
Then Nicole Kidman comes on and we're ready for the magic.
Yeah.
Boy,
No, we're not. Because then there was a little sneak preview of the Fantastic Four First Steps. And this is their third attempt, Joel?
More than that.
Fourth.
Fourth attempt.
Fourth is a
Let's-
charm.
Let's hope they get it right this time.
They did.
You haven't seen it yet.
I know.
We all know they did.
All right.
Put it this way, it'll be the best of the four. How's that?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I minded. Well, we'll review that later.
I'm
this summer.
rewatching the ones with Jessica Alba, and they're not as good as I had remembered.
Wait a minute. They're on our schedule for later this year.
Oh shit! Well,
It
all right,
did?
I'll go
Really?
back and take notes.
Ay,
Forgot about
ay.
that.
Harrison Ford is 82 years old and he still moves like a 72-year-old. It's great. No, it's great that he's still a movie star. I love
But you know,
him.
being
And-
that old makes it believable that he could be a president.
Exactly.
And you would think Harrison Ford is famously cranky. You'd think he'd be too cranky to do motion capture, but he did it. He did it. Oh, so it's a good 20 minutes before we hear our mission to restart the Avengers. That's the whole mission of this new movie. This is phase 5, right?
Yes, we are at
It
the.
is phase
I
5.
think we're at the end of phase 5.
I believe Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
2 movies in front of
Right.
us. So the next movie, The Thunderbolts, will end phase 5.
And restarting the Avengers is not the plot of the film. It's a statement in the film.
It's a subplot.
Yeah, it's not even a subplot. He doesn't really. It's not like he's going and saying, "Oh, hey, Hawkeye, come back. Hey, you."
Wait,
come
now
back."
what? Yeah. So wait. Now we've had this discussion before. The actual Avengers from the comics, the original comics, are not the ones that ended up in the MCU movie, The Avengers.
It was Ant-Man and the Wasp in there, and no Captain America, no Hawkeye,
Right.
no Scarlet
Widow.
not Scarlet Witch,
Scarlett Johansson.
yes, Black Widow.
So we're remaking the MCU version of the Avengers or the
It's
Well, you have to realize in the comics, the Avengers lineup constantly changes. You know,
Oh, okay.
that very first issue was Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. But by issue 4, they find Captain America's frozen body, and now he's part of it. And then
Right.
later on, Black Widow joins, Hawkeye joins, Vision joins,
Right.
Witch joins. I'll name other characters that you've never heard of.
When I was reading it, Captain Marvel,
right.
the Black Captain Marvel was what's her name?
Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, she was the leader.
Yes, that was in the 80s.
All right.
So
But
the-
now we're going to have Anthony Mackie as Captain America.
Right. So the directive
Yeah.
from President Ross to Sam was, I want you to restart the Avengers. But you never see him actually doing any of that. So there's nothing to do with
Right.
the film other than oh, hey, we're dropping this so that over the next few films,
Right.
This
We're
might be
going to do
happening.
this.
yeah.
So,
But it has nothing to
and
do with
then we
the
have
film.
the Ruth Black Widow, who her voice was so annoying. Oh my God.
We'll get to her when you get to me.
Right. Okay. So then she's going to be Black Widow in
No,
the Avengers. No.
probably not. It will probably
No, because-
be Yelena.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
But you must be this high
Yes.
to
That's
ride
right.
the Avengers, right?
you must be this high.
All right. So then okay. And then where am I? Oh, wait, I'm up here. Okay. Then we get another plot point, Celestial Island. But at least Harrison Ford did reference the existence of Wakanda, but I think he dissed them a little bit. Because didn't he say something like it was a separatist society or
Well,
something?
Wakanda is, they have all the vibranium, which is the
Right.
strongest metal until they discovered the adamantium on Celestial Island.
Wait a minute, is that Adam Ant? Like, is that where he got his name?
Adam-
Adam Ant?
I've always thought that. Always, every time I hear it, I'm like, Adam Ant? Him?
Yeah,
You do realize there was a
Oh.
60s cartoon character called Atom.
Adam Ant.
Yeah. Anyway, so you could have gotten
So they had to use adamantium?
It's the way to introduce. It's the way to introduce the X-Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how they're starting. But to your point about Wakanda, yes, they have kept the vibranium to themselves. They don't,
Right.
share the world.
Then they're bitches then.
Sure.
Well, at least he acknowledged them. And then they threw in
Don't forget that's Sam's costume. His outfit is all vibranium as well. So he referenced them as well. That was a nice gift.
It's a costume. And then they threw in some Manchurian candidate, brainwashing men to assassinate. Who were the target? Everyone? The president? Who was the target there? I wasn't sure what was going on there.
The target was technically President Ross, but they were designed to miss. It's a very convoluted plot,
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So basically, they were stormtroopers.
Yes. Well, the
Trained to
thing
miss.
was to set up for failure the treaty that he was trying to create with
Japan,
everybody, so that they could take the adamantium off Celestial Island.
It's still funny when you say it. Adamantium.
It was all just to discredit Ross at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And then the real villain, Sidewinder. Have we seen him before?
Okay, so Sidewinder's not the real villain.
Exactly.
And we have not seen him before.
Since we don't have Cringer.
Unless you've seen Breaking Bad.
Or The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
All right. And then this is where we get into the world of the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk from 2008. It was an interesting choice for them to pick the MCU movie that the Monday Movie Club hated the most for their plot points. And then at the end, somebody said, the world needs the Avengers. And all I was thinking was, but not you. Don't need you. All right. And then we find out Harrison Ford has been popping pills very conspicuously. And now we know why. He's the Red Hulk. Hey, the Red Hulk and the Green Hulk should get together and make a Christmas movie. They're red and green. What do you think? 2.5 stars for me. Deadpool and Wolverine gave me real hope that we were heading back to the former glory of the MCU. But I know it's not in canon, if we will. But Brave New World was convoluted, as Joel said, and uninspiring for me. Did not cure my MCU fatigue. Joel, I have 2 things to discuss. A, at one point, Harrison Ford says, you are not Steve Rogers. You're no Steve Rogers. And you posted this thing about why does Anthony Mackie's Captain America have to save the world? I want to discuss that because I feel the onus is on him because we do have MCU fatigue right now.
I'm trying. Okay, first of all, when did I post this? Like a week and a half ago at this point, probably. I don't
because you were like Steve Rogers never had to save the world. Why does
no. I vaguely remember the article. Unfortunately, real world events and postings have kind of pushed that so far to the back of my head I barely remember it.
I mean, it was 200 posts ago.
Exactly.
In just the last week.
Yeah. We'd have to have that discussion offline because I do not.
All right. Well, my point being, yes, he does have to save the MCU, really, because we have fatigue and we want it to be.
Well, here's the
game. We want it to be Infinity War.
But here's the problem. That's never going to happen. That was
Right.
never going to happen after Endgame or Infinity War. It was impossible. Those were
Right.
impossible. It's like saying, okay, my first album was such a hit out of the thing, and my sophomore album is that slump that always hits. That's
So
not to say that this was a sophomore slump for the MCU.
it
They
is obviously.
well, because it's been going on for a while. The problem the MCU has had is that they have been trying to course correct since then, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a writer's strike, in the middle of corporate leaders that were pushing for streaming over everything else, in the middle of, so there's all these outside influences that were pushing things in different directions. And it took them a while to figure out how to stop that. I mean, it took them, I don't know, eight movies maybe at this point.
Yeah.
And
it really is unfortunate because they were on such a good roll there. And the whole reason we got here was because there was
you're calling. Oh, you mean roll up through Endgame?
Yeah. That yes, it's going to be tough to live up to, of course.
Yeah.
But even when they announced, okay, the next section is going to be up to what was it? It was going to be this comic book, and then the next one was going to be that comic book story.
Oh, I mean the Doomsday or
Kang, it was Kang
Dynasty, and then Secret.
Right.
Yes.
And the Secret was, and you were like, that's the perfect way to go. And then they just were like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not.
Well, they again. Go ahead, Mark.
They replaced Kang Dynasty with Doomsday, with Robert Downey Jr. coming in as Doctor Doom.
Yes.
So they just replaced that, but it's still going to go to Secret Wars afterwards. So they're still rebuilding their world. And in Secret Wars, who knows? But I'm assuming they're going to actually bring back possibly Steve Rogers, somebody from the original days. I think they're going to have.
I think it's not just that. Just based on what comic book fans know about Secret Wars and how it played out in the comics, and this being the multiverse saga, there's a pretty good chance that anybody who ever starred in any Marvel project ever will make some sort of appearance in this monstrosity, with the intent of that when it's over, they do a hard reboot of everything. So you're now in one universe, you don't have the multiverse concept anymore, and now we have the X-Men included in everything. So
why aren't you in charge of the MCU? All right. But here's the thing. This is the other thing, that when the first spate of movies came up to Endgame, Infinity Wars, it was a gradual popularity thing. So, the first few movies people were watching, not watching, then they were seeing them on streaming, and then by the time we got to Endgame and Infinity Wars, everybody then caught up, like we did, caught up. So it was a gradual thing. But now we're here and we have all these people watching, and they're all don't realize that we have to go back here and start all over again and get back to here.
But
go ahead, Mark.
We're already in that process.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So maybe for me,
but this was better than the Eternals, Black Widow for me, the Marvels. This was back to MCU format. Maybe not. It was not Civil War, okay, but it was a good, solid Captain America installment, and to me, that feel was back.
I'm sorry, if we were rating the Captain America installments, this would definitely be the bottom.
This was very close to the first Avenger for me.
I would agree with Frank, but not in a negative way.
Yeah. You like all the Toy Stories are great movies. All the Captain Americas are great movies.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we already covered my second question. My two was, is this all comic book lore? So they are kind of picking and choosing.
They've been picking and choosing bits and pieces since the beginning. So
right.
And honestly, the entire, it's funny, even though this is, it's winds up technically being more of a sequel to the Incredible Hulk than the other Captain America movie.
Yeah, that was
even those threads were picked up out of the comic books. Right. So it's I think it's kind of fun that way. So
yeah, but again to pick that movie.
Yeah.
And we do have some cameos here that were fun to see people come back. I always enjoy that from the 2008, but not Ed Norton. Sorry. All right, let's move on. Well, let's go to Amy since she's
Mine will be very short because I have a definite opinion on this movie because I didn't see it. So 2.5 stars per Joel. Thank you.
Wait, what did Frank give it? 2?
2.5 stars.
2.5.
2.5
Okay,
stars.
you're safe. You're safe.
I mean, again, 2.5 is just okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I watched it. It was fine, but it did not impress me in any way. And Amy feels the same way.
It didn't impress me at all. Sorry.
Amy, are you joking? Did you really
No.
not?
No, she did not go to the movies. She had 10 days to see this movie.
Seriously.
I failed my
And she
homework this week.
Just turn off your camera.
Okay.
All right, Annie King, you're a big fan of the MCU.
Yeah, and
How
I
did this?
I felt
This
like
was when we first started, way back in 2020. Was it 2020?
2021, January 4th, 2021.
January 2021. Annie wasn't even part of this group. She actually saw the first video and was like, "Hey, I want in." So
Yeah, she kicked Nick the Brit out. Nice.
We had a lot of guests in the
She
beginning.
was way before Nick the Brit.
I did try to get Nick the Brit back for this particular one because he
Oh, really?
texted me about something about this movie that he found interesting. So
Aw.
Okay.
And we had Bill for a while, and
yeah, Bill was here
Jeff
for the
Plissken.
Spider-Man movies. Yeah,
and Jeff Plissken came in one or two. And what
Nobody
happened
wants
to
to play
Nan?
with us anymore.
What happened to Nan?
I don't know.
And then, wait, there was one other lady who joined us.
Meryl, no,
Meryl.
not what's
Once.
her name? Oh my
Once.
God. I can
Janice.
see her face.
Janice.
Janice. Janice.
Haven't seen any of them this year.
No.
All right, so
Scared everybody off.
you actually went to the theater,
yes. So
unlike Amy Goldman.
well, we were trying to get together, but it was a tough week anyway. But I started with you guys because I had just done the whole MCU to watch Infinity War, and then you guys started, and I was like, oh, I'll do it again. So here I am. Yeah. But so I bought my tickets, and I was the only one, right? The entire theater was empty, and I bought seats 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I go to the movies, I get there, it's empty. 2 people come in. Where do they sit?
No.
4 and 3. I'm like, the entire theater is empty. You have to sit right next.
I hate that. Annie,
don't know.
Obviously,
I
no.
feel you completely. Wow.
Obviously, that was the perfect row to sit in.
So empty row.
Annie, I almost took a picture when I left work the other day. It's winter at the golf course, so there's barely anybody there. So I park, and the restaurant is open. So that besides me, there's only like a couple people in the restaurant that work there. I parked in the middle of an employee parking lot. There's 20 spots. I come out, and there's 3 cars in there. Where are the other 2 cars? To my left and to my right. Right there.
Yeah. No, it's like sitting at the beach, and all of a sudden you plop down right next to me where I could hear your entire conversation. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, move away.
Were they conversating during the movie?
no,
No.
I wasn't
Oh, okay.
actually, but that's
That's not the point.
I get your
The point
point.
is
I get
put a
I
step
get the
behind
point.
or in front, you know.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
I did not have that problem.
Yeah, lucky you. But I felt like Mark. I was like, oh, this was great. This was MCU. I felt like it was a good action movie. Harrison Ford was great. I liked the storyline. I was like, oh, I get it. You know, this was a good kind of way to introduce him, Anthony Mackie, and what he, you know, what's gonna go on and stuff. So I had a great time with it. I totally enjoyed it. The
Adamantium.
Mantium and everything. And I was like, oh, yay, X-Men, you know? So I thought there was enough little drops there with the got to restart the Avengers and stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did not enjoy the post-credit. I thought that was terrible. But
Yeah, it was unneeded. Yeah.
That was, yeah, stupid, but I enjoyed it a lot. 3.25 for me.
You know, we do the post-credit sequence after everybody talks.
Well, that's why I didn't say
Oh,
anything
okay.
about it, but that I thought it was silly. But
Is what I say. Mark G, you have the picture up. Go on.
Yeah.
3.5.
No. But before I get to my notes, I will say that,
I don't think you should put a picture up unless it's 3.5 or better. Sorry.
I don't care what you think.
That is painfully obvious.
Before I get to my notes, I'll just say that in regard to the plot, I do agree. I'm a big fan of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the series. It was my second favorite behind Hawkeye. Hawkeye to me was clearly the best thing they've done. But I did have to watch it twice because it was a little bit of a bad Bond, convoluted spy stuff going on, and I didn't quite catch. I had no idea who the Flag Smashers were from that. And they did introduce Joaquin in there, but I only recognized him in the second time I was watching it. So I still had a vision of him, but it was a little convoluted, and I think they had some of that in this as well. So this was clearly not a perfect movie. They could have cleaned up the plot a lot more and made it a little bit easier. So that is,
you know what? I was able to follow along, and usually I'm so lost, and it didn't even have closed captioning, but I totally got it.
I hear you, but the same thing with the whole when Isaiah first stood up and shot at the president. Like it was like I heard the phone go off and play the music right away, so I knew something was up, but you didn't quite know what was going on. And at the end of the day, it's all just to discredit the president. It was a little bit wonky. That's all. Now I go to my notes, which are also disjointed.
And wait, was this a comic book series? This particular plot?
You have to go to Joel for that. I have no idea.
Not, there have been so many Manchurian Candidate type plots in the Captain America comics themselves that I want to say both yes and no. Isaiah Bradley has
that was very well, I don't remember saying from SNL.
Isaiah Bradley's never been used in this capacity like that before, to my knowledge. And I'll just leave it at that. So then Mark can go with his wonky notes.
Here we go.
Wonky notes.
I just thought it set a great tone from the beginning. Like Annie said, it was just, I felt like the MCU was back, I loved Isaiah's arc. And him say that again to Sam at the end was the only actual laugh out loud from me. Joaquin was a good comic relief and a great sidekick. I wish I remembered him a little bit more from the series, from Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I did remember him.
Was he a DEI hire? No.
No. Liv Tyler was wasted. Would she have 2 lines?
But good that she came back.
Yes.
Hey, spoilers. You just spoiled it for Amy, at least.
Yeah.
Now I know the president is something called the Red Hulk.
Did you not watch the previews?
No, I never watched previews for a movie like this.
I don't either. I don't want to know.
When reviewing a movie, spoilers are not.
I know. I'm just busting.
I know.
Stop watching if you haven't seen it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Going into this, I had a problem with the scene behind me, basically, because any human being against any version of a Hulk, I don't care what technology you give them, it's not even if you're an enhanced soldier, Captain America. So all I'll say is that I went into this thinking this is so unrealistic. How are you even going to stand a minute of a chance? But I will say I did appreciate them explaining in the beginning that he did get all the Wakandan gifts, which so his wings and his suit they can absorb energy, which to me at least put me. It's still unbelievable. However, at least they gave him a fighting chance. Put it that way. So I was happy that they explained it. He wasn't, because that's the thing I have about. I love Anthony Mackie. I love Sam Wilson, but without the serum, it is hard to be a Captain America. At the end of the day, you could be in the best shape of anybody human, but you can't go toe to toe with super powered beings. So
from the man who said Paddington was a real bear.
He's way too weak to be a bear. Okay, look, it's still the truth. I'm not going to change my stance on that.
I think you need to make us all go see Paddington 3 in the theaters. Just
yes.
I will pull an Amy Goldman And say, oh, I didn't get to go.
I was too busy this week.
Anyway, but having said all that, I did appreciate that he did have noticeable injuries, and of course, like any good Captain America, he still got up every time. It was a good story. They did it justice for me. Um,
Wait, Justice League, that's a different thing.
they did do it justice, and I did appreciate at the end that Ross was in jail, as opposed to another silly comic book story where everyone just ignores the fact that the president of the United States turns into a Hulk and rampages everything, and they just kind of ignore it. Here, he took
I,
accountability.
yeah, I think we're going through that right now.
Agreed. And what I really appreciated, the wink and a nod when Sam sees Ross for the first time and says, "I'm not used to seeing you like this," which was obviously an inside joke that it's now Harrison Ford, but it was about the mustache instead. 3.25 from me. Not perfect, but as I said earlier, I think I texted you guys that I think this was going to be good, and then Thunderbolts gooder, and then
Gooder.
54 even gooder.
Goodest.
So it's going to go 1, 2, 3 in getting slightly better each one. Sorry, Joel.
Like goodest. The
The
Fantastic
goodest,
Four
yes,
is
that would be the goodest this year.
Good, gooder, goodest.
Goodest, yeah.
Yes, that's how good. All right, Gene. Colon.
Colon. Yes. Colon and colonoscopy. Anyway,
Gene Colon Powell.
Gene Colon, that's all spelled differently. So, I think I've made it clear in the past.
Did you only go once?
I have. Who the fuck's had time to go barely once?
All right.
Yeah,
Amy didn't, obviously.
that's true. Natasha and I went on the day it opened in the morning because she had off from work. Duncan had off from school. He refuses to go with us at this point, so he dropped out of the MCU with Thor: Love and Thunder. So
Can't blame
I
him.
would have too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Amy would have too.
Yeah. So we saw it like a week ago, a week and a half. I don't know. Anyway,
10 days.
I think I've said in the past that my comic book reading days, Captain America was one of like 2 or 3 of my favorite Marvel characters. That's what I read constantly. So I definitely have an affinity for the character, and I really love what he stands for. And I've enjoyed the other 3 movies, with obviously The Winter Soldier being the best of the 3, Civil War just under that, First Avenger just under that, and this one just under that. I think it's, I'll agree with Mark in the sense that, I think it is taking those steps to repair things with where the entire franchise has been heading of late. But it does have a number of issues that I will take up. Bringing, the film had some reshoots done, and in doing the reshoots, that's when they brought in Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder. He was not part of the original film, although the Serpent Society was. There were 2 other members that were featured in that, and for whatever reason they decided they needed a leader figure, so they brought him in and they cut 2 of them out. And I think that is a little unfortunate because in the previous Captain America films, they used a D-list bad guy named Batroc the Leaper and really made him from a goofy comic book character into an interesting mercenary. And I think they could have done the same thing here with the Serpent Society, who in the comic books, they all have snake-based powers. So it would have been interesting to actually see a group of mercenaries that have superpowers as opposed to just a group of mercenaries that, shoot guns and throw knives. And I think that was a little unfortunate that we didn't get that here. Another character that I think was done a disservice to an extent, and I understand why, is Ruth Saraf, because in the comic books, she is an Israeli superhero with superpowers named Saraf, and they obviously, with real world events going on, decided that they needed to pull as much of that out as possible by making her a Black Widow, which didn't bother me at the end of the day, but removing her superpowers, seemed kind of silly in that sense. Why take the character in that direction? But it was what it was.
Maybe she hasn't acquired her superpowers yet.
Possible, very possible. I'll give them that for now. I don't think we'll ever see the character again, personally.
I hope not, because her
You will-
voice
you
was
will-
annoying.
Later this year,
And you would have been cringing.
Joel, she grows up to be the school principal and kindergarten cop,
Mhm.
which we're watching later this year. Who's also about 4'2".
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was like one of the weaker characters.
Yeah,
and
as
they
I
could have picked
said, I think
somebody.
they did a disservice to her. The biggest disservice to me with the film, though, was in the marketing, because I think it would have been a bigger surprise to everybody if they didn't show the transformation of Ross into the Red Hulk in the trailer, because it would have come as a bit of a shock to people coming in from the street. Obviously, comic book fans know what he turns into and stuff, and they've laid enough of the groundwork. But I think that does the film a little bit of a disservice as well.
Again, marketing, but I think they were trying to entice people to be like,
Oh, no.
"See,
I
this is gonna
understand
be
why they
fun."
were doing it. They looked at it going, okay, how we need to do everything we can to get people involved,
Right,
and
right.
so if we show them the Red Hulk, that's what they're going to show up for. And obviously it did work, because it's doing very well at the box office for, based on previous Marvel films. So, I like the fact that, yes, even though none of us, the Incredible Hulk is the weakest of the MCU films, that this picks up on threads from that have been dangling for, over 15 years at this point. And it was nice to see, spoiler alert, Tim Blake Nelson return as Samuel Stearns. And I liked the fact that they didn't refer to him as the leader, because in the comic books, that's the character's name. He's the leader, and he's got this giant head that goes up like an extra foot or two. And I always, to me, whenever I see him, whether it's comic books or cartoons, he looks goofy as all get out. It's like the dumbest design in the world, but it comes out of the 60s comic book, so I understand it. I love the look of him in this film because it made sense to me.
Yep.
And even though comic book fans are bitching and moaning about it, I'm like, no, it would make sense that if his skull was cut open and gamma juice was dripping into it, that it would mutate his brain and his head like that and not make it grow up into a dome. So,
yeah, that makes sense, Joel.
It's pure logic, Frank.
Yeah, I'm on board.
But it was nice to see him. It was nice to get the connections back to that. It was nice to see him pulling the strings as the character does in the comic books. And that made him a nice behind the scenes villain. We'll touch on the post credit sequence when we get to that in a moment. But it was a fun film. It was a step in the right direction. It still kept Cap and his supporting characters, for the most part, on track to where they should be. I want to see where they're going to take him. I love the idea of Sam Wilson really stepping up and reforming the Avengers, and it'll be interesting to see who gets involved in that as we go through the next 8 or 9 movies, however many there are between now and the end of Phase 6. So I'm going to actually go a little less than Annie and Mark and go with a 3 stars. It's a very solid 3 stars for me. So.
Cool.
I'm going to quickly jump in before we discuss the end credits. I forgot to say that I did appreciate, you guys know I like fight choreography and stuff like that. And the hand-to-hand in this was fantastic, very believable. And the scene where after Isaiah shot at the president and had to run away, him jumping out and him moving, the actor, I don't know his name, but the guy.
Carl Lumbly.
Thank you.
Carl Lumbly.
Yeah.
He is clearly.
Or his stunt double.
But no, there were scenes you saw him running and he threw a table back and this and that. He's clearly a large man and he's a bit older now. So this guy is not going to run, 50 miles an hour. But they did a very realistic job of what someone who is an older big guy who has a super serum in him would look like. I thought it was fantastic. Him jumping through the window, running faster than everyone else. I thought it was very believable. And then the scene where he gets arrested and falls to his knees. I thought it was very emotional. That was very touching because you could clearly see that he does not want to go back to jail. It's clearly traumatic to him. And I thought that was, and then when he gets out and everything like that, it was just, again, I thought he was one of my favorite parts of the entire movie.
He's going to be at Terrificon this summer.
Ah,
That's
learned his
terrific.
name then before that.
Yeah.
Carl Lumbly.
Lumley.
Wasn't he Cagney and Lacey?
I think so. He's been in a lot of things over the years. So
I recognized him. All right, so the post-credit sequence, I did not stay to watch it. It says here, and in prison, Stearns warns Wilson of a coming attack from other worlds.
yes.
Sounds fun.
Exciting.
Basically, Sam Wilson visits Stearns at the Raft, the big prison where Ross is now also
That's
in prison.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Tim Blake Nelson, and he gives him the warning that it's obvious that because Stearns is so intelligent and he's constantly playing through scenarios in his head. Think of him as like the scientific version of Doctor Strange in Infinity War, where he's sitting there looking through all of the realities to find the only one that would work to defeat Thanos. He's doing the same thing in his head, and he knows that there are multiverses and that something is coming. So
I could say that and be right.
yes, I know that, but they needed to remind everybody that even though this was an earth-grounded story, that aspect is still out there, and that's where they're heading towards things. So
I love the multiverse.
Yeah. So while we're not going to see the multiverse, or most likely not see the multiverse, or not have much connection to it in Thunderbolts, it's definitely coming in the Fantastic Four. So, we'll see where that takes us. And I don't know what's after that specifically. I think it's
an untitled one.
Yeah, I think it's Doomsday, and then the next Spider-Man movie are the only ones that are actually so far scheduled for 2026. So anyway,
there's one in about a year, February, that's untitled.
But Joel, you've mentioned this before. There have been post-credit sequences that have still not come to fruition 10, 15 years later.
Oh well, but now they've solved some of those.
We don't need to see Harry Styles again.
We don't need
What about Hercules? What happened to that?
I'm sure. Well, there is talk of another Thor film. So my assumption is he'll show up there, because people do want to see that aspect of things. Thankfully, they tied up. We're probably never going to see the Eternals again, but they at least tied up the biggest loose end from that movie here with Celestial Island.
We're going to see Dane Cook in Blade in 2034 when they finally release.
When they finally get the damn movie out. Yeah.
All right, cool. That's it for us. Where to watch? Captain America: Brave New World is only in theaters. Next week, we are going back to the Frankenlist. My goal is to have this group watch every single movie from the Frankenlist.
Yeah.
And so next week, we're watching Casablanca from 1942. It's number 7. Yes, Mark, it's in black and white.
I've seen it. I
And
enjoyed
it's
it.
on Max. Okay, you've seen it. Has everybody seen it? No.
No.
Annie says no. All right. Please be in a good frame of mind when you watch it and realize it's from 1942.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, that's it for us. Welcome back to the MCU. I'm Max.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome back to the MCU. Go watch a movie.
And also with you.